Hello everyone, thanks for coming outside with me today. Today, since there is no 2021 ATA show, I had to get a little creative. I went down to my local shop to try out some of the new flagship level bows that have not been released yet for 2021. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you would like to see others from the flagships of some of the major companies for 2021, I will put those links to that playlist in the description below, and you can check those out as well so you can make a good buying decision. So today we're going to be taking a look at the MATHEWS Atlas, which is the only bow that I'm really interested in the MATHEWS line this year. And not because MATHEWS doesn't make great bows, of course they do, but they kind of regurgitated what they did with the VXR, which was kind of the regurgitation of the Verdix and the Traverse, and nothing has really changed except for some axle to axle adjustments. And instead of putting the wheel system of the cable guard in the center, they kind of dropped it down an angle to put it right in the exact center of the bow to line up with the burger hole. That's not worth me getting all fired up and shooting it. So we're going to be looking today at the MATHEWS Atlas, and we're not going to be really doing too much looking. Unfortunately, due to 2020 pandemic and now bumping into 2021, the archery industry has been exploding in terms of people buying goods and buying new bows and trying new things out, and it has absolutely been a banner year for the archery industry in terms of sales and getting people interested in the sport. Because of that, with the new bows being released this week and me being only able to get out on Saturdays to my local shop, I have very little footage of me shooting, and I actually don't have any footage of me actually shooting the MATHEWS Atlas. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Unfortunately, no ATA. This is just kind of where we're at. But I would like to give some of my thoughts about the Atlas itself, and as well as it compares to like the VXR 31 or now the V3 27 and 30, just to kind of give you an idea where I think MATHEWS is at right now, and if the Atlas is actually a good decision. And particularly if you're a big guy like me, I'm 6'4", I need a 31-inch draw length. That Atlas is meant for that 29.5 to 34 inches of draw length, which is insane. That is a big boy bow. And I'll put up all the specs for the Atlas here on the screen so you can enjoy those as well. And this bow on paper fits me perfectly. This is the type of bow I like to shoot. 34 3/4 inches of axle to axle length, which is perfect. I really don't like to shoot anything sub 33, although 32, 32.5 I can get away with, but at my longer draw length, I really like a longer axle to axle. Really enjoy that. 7 3/4 inch of brace height. You want to talk about a super forgiving bow, a super smooth to shoot in the sense that it's not going to be super radical with its speed. It's generating its speed because you have a long draw length, right? Remember, the IBO rating is based off of a 30-inch draw, but for guys like me, if you need over a 30-inch draw, you're not worried about IBO speed numbers, and particularly if you have a 32, 33, or even that big in 34-inch draw length that the Atlas offers. So you're more worried about having a comfortable, very forgiving bow, which that's 7 3/4 inch brace height, which I don't know if anybody's making a bow of a brace height that big of a flagship level quality. That's really impressive that MATHEWS is able to get the speeds out of this bow, even at these longer draw lengths with such a large brace height. The mass weight is just a skosh under 5 pounds, which isn't that bad. Again, it is a huge bow. Like, I'm sitting there holding it again. I wish I had footage, but the shop is just so packed. People actually trying to buy and try out these bows. I'm a part-time employee. I'm not actually a paying customer, so I'm going to set up the bows for them and let them shoot and let them enjoy, and I'll get what footage I can. But actually holding the bow, it is a quite large bow, but it is by far the best balancing bow that I have held from MATHEWS that isn't in their target lineup. Their TRX 38 and their TRX 40, they balance very well with that super long riser, both top and bottom, but their short bows like the V3, the 27, or the 30 or 28 inch bow, ever since really the Triax back in, I think, was that 2017, 2018, I have not had a MATHEWS bow that actually balanced well. They're very top heavy and very forward heavy, and as a right-handed archer, they would like to cant off to the left and forward for me. And this is universal. Anybody knows this, that you have to run a stabilizer setup on a MATHEWS, predominantly the newer MATHEWS, to get them to be stable and not want to just absolutely torque themselves right out of your hand. But literally sitting there and holding the Atlas up, it literally balanced almost perfectly without it tipping over. It still does eventually get a little bit of tip and fall forward, but that is by far the biggest improvement that MATHEWS has made in a while. Now, MATHEWS doesn't really get into the 34-inch bow, 35-inch bow hunting market. They leave that to their target side, but for big guys like me, you're already big in the woods. You don't care if that bow is big as well, so I think kudos to MATHEWS for actually making a bow here that balanced really well. The 27 and the 30, the V3s, they just don't. They're typical MATHEWS in their top heaviness, and that's why I didn't shoot shoot them and didn't do a review about them. They basically felt and work exactly the same as their older models. The Atlas is a totally different platform, at least in the size and the brace height. Where it's not different, it still uses the cross-centric cam technology that Matthews uses, the same roller guards, although now it's down at that angle, and they still have the switch weight mod system. So unlike a lot of the flagship level bows and even the mid-low bows from companies nowadays, Matthews is still staying true to their mod-specific cams. So the cam itself can adjust to have all the different draw lengths, but you need to have different mods to put onto that cam, which is kind of a bummer as a shop. Now, granted, it's been a very tried and true form for Matthews, and they've been able to get better at least having modules work with different bows and different cam systems, so you don't have like 6 different cam system modules sitting in your shop just collecting dust and eating up money on the wall. But with at least with the new bows, I was kind of hoping they would go to a rotating mod. In particular with the Atlas, I was really hoping they would go with a rotating mod to allow that to be just a big dude who needs a good bow setup. But they're still sticking with their switch weight technology. That hasn't changed. It's very stout, very robust, and it does allow you to change the mods from 80% and 85%, which is nice. Those are, again, hunting level percentages that you would expect for let off. 80 to 90, that's kind of the range. Now you start getting down to 75, 70. Now you're talking target level, target archer type of let offs. And guys, big guys ourselves, especially at 31 inches and over, we don't want to have a 70% let off bow. So it's nice to see them add the 80 and 85% to the lineup. Now, of course, all of this flapping my gums is pointless if the bow doesn't shoot well. And I'm happy to report it does shoot very well. I was quite impressed with how it typically feels like a Matthews. It really did. The draw cycle was, in my opinion, stiff, but stiff in a good way. It starts off stiff and it stays stiff, and then it gently goes into the back wall. There's not this big spike and then dump off, which is really good for a hunting bow situation. It comes off the back wall very easily. You don't want this back wall situation, which is true of some of the older elites, which I still have and shoot, is that you can kind of just start creeping, but it doesn't go anywhere. It almost feels like you have to push the string forward for the bow to let down, and that's when it'll rip your shoulder off. This one, although it's very firm going all the way through, when it gets back here, you can actually just let it down very firmly as well. So it saves your shoulder in that regard. And it's also nice for a hunting bow with that very generous brace height and that really easy to work on cam system in this regard. Pulling it back and letting it down, that's what you want for a big guy. And particularly if you're going to shoot 60 or 70 pounds as a big draw archer, you want something that actually works and doesn't crank 34 inches of draw length at 70 pounds, poosh, like that when you go to let down because you can't execute the shot in the woods. Now, when it comes to vibration on the shot, there is some, but it's not bad. It's not a punchy vibration. It's more like a tuning fork, more like a humming vibration, which is totally fine. A stabilizer will rid that, no problem. And it doesn't bug me that it does have a little bit of vibe, a little bit of hum. Most longer axle-to-axle bows like that with a really long riser, and particularly Matthews, which their bread and butter is a really long riser, even with their short axle-to-axle bows like their V327, 27 inches axle-to-axle and like a 28-inch riser or something like that. Same thing's true with the Atlas here. You've got like almost a 33 and change inch riser. That's a lot of aluminum to vibrate and have that big shot, that big power stroke to send off that arrow. So a little bit of vibe, I'm not worried about. All in all, I think it's a really good bow. And if you're a big guy and you're really into getting a flagship level bow that actually will work for you, and it definitely, if you're one of the really big guys, you're in that 32, 33 inch draw length, or even if you're really huge in 34, this is really the only offering out there for you of a flagship level right now. I think we're going to start to see more and more bow companies, at least I hope so, offer 31, 32 inch draw lengths. There's a few sprinkled out there. This is kind of a first big one for Matthews in a while to offer a draw length this large, so it's nice to see them have it. I think the Atlas will make a great bow, whether you're even on the shorter end, you just want a long crossover bow, you're on that 29.5 inch draw length, or on the bigot, I think it'd be a great addition to your 2020-21 lineup. And if you have any other questions about my thoughts on the Atlas, follow the links in the description below, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, send me an email, or leave a comment here on YouTube. Hope you're able to get outside, enjoy the sport of archery hunting if you so choose. Definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation, and we'll get to see you next time.